As a special education teacher, I spend the majority of the time with the students, which equals the largest influence on them. So as a special education, I need to make sure that I am supporting their learning by being patient, by facilitating the learning process, especially with children that have accommodations or have any type of exceptionality that needs to be considered. When I plan, I need to plan and gear it towards my special education students. I need to always uphold my professional expectations and my ethics by providing the best type of values and morals, and I would lead through example in my classroom so that my children, my students understand what it is firsthand and observe it firsthand of what the value and moral system is in my class. Every teacher has a different value system in their classroom. I would provide one that includes fairness, compassion, I would advocate for them, dedication, higher expectations, all those type of things. Now, as a general education teacher, you have the same type of role and responsibility to these students, but there is a sense of, it might be a little bit easier with them. I don't want to say easier, but a little bit easier in the sense that there's less pressure on the teacher because she doesn't have exceptionalities to consider or different IEP plans. There's a difference there, and these students don't have that same type of pressure that the students with the special education need have. So you would have the same type of morals, you would still have the same type of value system in place, you would still have the same type of learning process, you would have a different curriculum because sometimes if there's a student that requires a special curriculum, that would be for a special education student, but in a regular general education classroom, everyone is on the same curriculum, everyone is having the same type of assessments, the teacher's gauging her lessons, her differentiated instruction based on those type of assessments. Okay, now in terms of professional dispositions, I would say that my strength lies in higher expectations because I always try to provide my students with sometimes negative or positive feedback, but the negative feedback would always have a twist on it where they feel that I'm supporting them and making them feel like they could do better without the pressure. Okay, a respect for diversity with others. There has to be a collective respect of diversity because every student has a different type of background, whether it's cultural, whether it's spiritual, whether it's maybe even a language barrier. There's diversity in the classroom. There's not one student that's the same. Not everybody's the same. Fairness, you have to have an environment of fairness in your classroom so that the student feels that they can talk to you, you can talk to them, and you're reciprocating this relationship with your students and you. Professional conduct, you have to have a professional conduct, whether you're a teacher or you work in the work field. You have professional attire, you have open avenues of communication with the parents, with the students, with your colleagues, with your administration. Okay, I always, as a teacher, always encourage curiosity by asking higher order questions. If a student answers a question, I always ask, well, how do you know that? And what leads you to believe that? And I deal with younger students, but I always ask that type of higher order questioning because it makes them think aloud. Honesty. I feel like honesty is always the best policy in a classroom. Anytime you, as an educator, try to make up something or maybe put a little bend to the truth, those students are going to know and they're going to feed off of that and in turn probably not be truthful with the teacher. So you always, I think from the very beginning, need to establish an honesty policy in your students. Compassion, you as a teacher, you spend more time with the student than the parents do. So you should be kind of like their first line of defense. If they have an issue, they come and talk to the teacher. And you as a teacher needs to reciprocate that behavior with them and sit with them, listen to them, understand them, give them words of encouragement. I think that pairs well with advocacy, because if you have a student that has an issue, is not receiving services or doesn't have accommodations in place, you are the advocate for that student, and you need to ensure that that student is getting everything they receive to have the best education, the superior education that they deserve and need to facilitate the learning process. And dedication, I think as a teacher, we can't go into this profession without being dedicated. This is not the type of profession that where you can be laid back and not have a work ethic, that you want to help these children, you want to make a difference, you want to make sure that they're learning, you want to ensure that they have everything in their resource, every resource they could possibly need to ensure that they are learning. Okay, now if I have to reflect on something that I would work on, it would probably be reflection, being able to accept criticism, being able to accept, furthering my ideas, getting feedback. I can't accept feedback, but accepting more feedback, always being open to learning and always being open to maybe like professional developments, furthering my education. There's so many things that I could do, and I think I could probably, even in addition to what I am doing, do more.